Of course, of course. My corner, going into the championship rounds, they just kept yelling at me, "You got to close the show. You got to win the championship rounds, because they're not gonna give it to you. You got to win the championship rounds." Because it was one round where I dominated in the scorecards. They gave it to Canelo, and that just changed the whole mentality of the fight. They were just like, all right, you got to go out there and win these rounds. You got to go out there and win these rounds.
The night wasn't just about Crawford beating Canelo. It was about survival against the judges too. In a shocking claim, Crawford says even when he dominated, the scorecards told a story that nearly robbed him. Even Crawford's coach Bernie felt it. From the opening bell, something wasn't right. He stated, "First round they say everybody was worried. Like, cause you see they're trying to steal it from us, right? With the 1-1-5, 1-1-3, right? They're trying to steal it." Bernie's words carried the tension of a corner that sensed danger beyond the ring. It wasn't just Canelo they were up against, but the numbers flashing on the judges' cards. The fight suddenly became about more than punches. It was about protecting history from being taken away. Every round turned into a test of will, not only for Crawford, but for everyone in his corner. In that moment, the fear of robbery became as real as the fight itself. But Bernie didn't stop there. He revealed just how worried the corner was about the fight slipping away.
But listen, so we was worried they'd just give it to Canelo just for nothing. Just give it to him. So we had to. Bud came straight out. Did you see how he went out there and went straight to him? Set the tone?
Right away.
Oh, God.
He never chased him. He never chased him around the ring.
No, Crawford never ran.
No, Canelo never chased him.
Those words showed the raw truth of a corner fighting against more than just an opponent. They knew one bad scorecard could erase everything Crawford was working for. That fear turned into fire, fueling Bud to step forward and take command of the ring. Every second became proof that he wasn't leaving his fate in the judge's hands. It was in that storm of doubt and pressure that Crawford delivered his defining statement. Even respected trainer Robert Garcia weighed in, pointing out the flaws that Canelo carried into the fight. His breakdown hinted at something deeper, that without the judges, Canelo's style wasn't enough to secure the win.
He's fought the same way the last 4 or 5 fights, enough just to get the win, or maybe the judges to give him the win. Throws one punch at a time, so one punch at a time, looks for just that one part. He opens up, that hook he was throwing over and over, reaching in with that hook, keeping his chin up, his right hand down. There's a lot of things that you can't do over and over if you have a good game plan, if you have somebody giving you the right instructions. You can't do it over and over for 4 fights. There's got to be corrections.
Garcia's words painted a clear picture. Canelo wasn't dominating. He was relying on the same habits and banking on the scorecards to cover the gaps. It felt as if the system was built to protect him round after round. But Crawford's sharp adjustments tore through that safety net and left no room for doubt. Against both the man in front of him and the judges behind him, Bud proved the truth could not be stolen. Robert Garcia also admitted that Crawford's discipline and drive stood out in this fight. He explained how the doubt surrounding Crawford only fueled him to train harder and rise above expectations.
I think so. He's very talented. He's a very disciplined fighter also. He's healthy, and a lot of people were saying, oh well, he hasn't fought, or he didn't look too good against Madrimov at 154. How can he look good? He's a talented fighter, and that challenge for him pushed him even harder to train harder and to be better. That challenge, went up against Canelo, moving up 2 divisions, hearing that people are saying, oh, he didn't look too good against Madrimov, so how could he look good at 68? Well, that motivated more, man. He trained hard. He did what he had to do.
That insight revealed the hunger behind Crawford's performance. He wasn't just fighting Canelo, and he was proving every critic wrong. The pressure of moving up in weight became his biggest weapon, not his weakness. What many thought would break him actually sharpened him into something unstoppable. And on fight night, that fire left the judges with no excuse to deny him. Garcia further continued and turned his attention to Canelo's side, speaking on the business and preparation behind the fight. His words hinted at cracks in the strategy that may have left the door wide open for Crawford.
They're businessmen. They've made a lot of money together, and that's what they're all about. The business, I don't think they took the fight lightly, because they couldn't have, but because Canelo, from what I hear, is very disciplined, trains very hard. But I think when it came to the game plan or the instructions, could have been a little bit better.
This perspective added another layer to the story. Canelo may have been disciplined, but discipline without the right plan is never enough. It showed how much was riding on politics, money, and reputation, things outside the ropes. And yet, even with all that weight behind Canelo, Crawford tore the script apart. Teddy Atlas didn't hold back when reflecting on Crawford versus Canelo. He made it clear that from the moment the fight was signed, he already knew how dangerous this matchup would be.
Well, you know, I've been on the wrong side, but it's nice to be on the right side. But I felt like I was on the right side. I felt the way Crawford felt. What people ask me, Teddy, when did you know? When were you were so sure he was going to win this fight? You were saying it, you know, a year ago or more. When did you know that he was going to win this fight? That there was no one else. You said nobody can win this fight. Only one guy, and he's going to win it convincingly, easily. When did you know that? And I'm gonna say what I really mean, but also what I understand Crawford said. But I said it myself before. I knew when he signed the contract. when he signed the contract, I knew that Canelo was making a mistake. That he had no idea, like he didn't have an idea what Beaver was. He had no idea. And unfortunately, the judges did the same thing they did in the Beaver fight. They scared the crap out of us. They made us realize they were going to rob him if he didn't destroy him, if he didn't dominate. Dominate! I mean, are you kidding me? He dominated!
His words showed the level of certainty only a veteran eye can bring. He wasn't just predicting Crawford's win, he was warning that judges could turn it into another nightmare like past fights. The fear of robbery loomed large, forcing Crawford to leave nothing to chance. It was dominance or disaster, and Atlas knew it from day one. That's why every round carried the weight of history. In the end, Crawford's performance proved Atlas right and silenced every doubt. As the fight ended, Atlas broke it down with brutal honesty. He acknowledged what everyone watching could see. Crawford's control left almost nothing for Canelo to claim.
I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna give Canelo 2 rounds. 2 rounds! And I'm being nice. I'm not being a wise guy. I'm being honest. I'm being a professional. He won maybe. And if you want to make it a shutout, I wouldn't say you were crazy. Because I don't think I'm crazy. Just a little bit angry sometimes because of my sport that I love. That if he doesn't dominate the way he did, they're gonna give it to Canelo? The way that one judge tried to make it a close fight against Mayweather many years ago? Are you kidding? The way the Beaver people, in the Beaver fight, I thought Beaver won 10 rounds. They tried to do the same thing. 115, 113? Are you kidding me? Maybe they just don't understand math. Maybe they think that I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they think 115 is 119. Maybe, you know, it's different kinds of, you know, numeral. The way they came up with the numerals, with the math, maybe that's what it is. Maybe, I don't know.
Atlas's frustration cut deep, not at the fighters, but at the sport itself. He reminded fans how fragile victories can be when judges twist numbers on the cards. To him, this wasn't just about winning, it was about exposing a system that had robbed fighters before. Crawford had to dominate every second to protect what was rightfully his, and in Atlas's eyes, that's exactly what he did. It was proof that the only way to beat corruption was with unquestionable greatness. Before the fight, Atlas had already told Stephen A. Smith why he believed Crawford was different. For him, Bud wasn't just another fighter. He was built on another level.
I told Stephen A. Smith, I did a segment with him. A lot of people saw it the day before. And, you know, I said, I like Crawford. Like I said, when his contract was signed, when it was, and then he was a bigger favorite. He was a big underdog. He was a bigger underdog. He was 2-1 at one point, if I remember.
That's correct.
correctly.
And it closed at closer to plus 135, plus 140.
Yeah. Once people knew who I was picking. I'm kidding. But I was telling Stephen A. Smith, he said, Teddy, why do you like him so much? I said, why do you like 3D TV more than regular TV? Because it's 3D! Because it's got more dimensions to it. Why do you like digital better than Betamax? I still use Betamax. I gotta tell you, I still got a fax machine, Rich. I do. I got a fax machine. I'm old-fashioned. What are you gonna do? But you remember VHS, VHR, whatever it's called, right? All that stuff. Betamax, and then it went to digital. I was the last guy at ESPN, the whole campus, that still got sent VCR tapes. They had to send them to me. I had a cassette player. I put them in. I didn't know how to do digital, but digital is the way to go, babe. It's the way of the future. It's faster. It's quicker, right? You got all the stuff in the air, going through the air. That's Crawford.
His explanation painted Crawford as something unique in today's boxing. Where others were predictable, Crawford brought layers, depth, and angles that left opponents lost. Atlas made it clear, this wasn't a gamble, it was certainty. He saw in Crawford qualities that judges couldn't deny, no matter how hard they tried. That faith wasn't blind hype. It was the eye of a trainer who's seen champions rise and fall. To Atlas, Crawford wasn't just a contender. He was the future written in real time. He even compares Canelo and Crawford. Atlas kept it fair but firm. He gave Canelo his respect, but made sure to highlight the key difference.
Stephen A., I said, Canelo's a nice, solid guy. He went nuts. Solid! He goes, Teddy, he's Canelo. I said, he's a solid guy. His technique, his basics are solid. His fundamentals are solid. He's strong. He's physical. He's moved up and become, solid at a heavier weight than when he started in his career. He's grown into. He's got great experience. All of that. He's a good, solid guy. I'm not knocking him. In the old days, that was the greatest compliment that the people in my business could give you. Guy's a solid guy. Can fit in with anyone. He knows how to fight. He's a solid guy, but he's not digital. There's only a few guys that are digital.
His words carried the balance of a man who knows greatness when he sees it. Canelo was strong, skilled, and experienced, but there was a ceiling to his game. Crawford, on the other hand, was operating on a digital level while others were stuck in the analog. That gap meant one thing. No matter what the judges thought, Crawford had separated himself completely, and that separation is what made the robbery attempts powerless. It was the kind of gap that turns a great fighter into an untouchable legend. Demetrius Andrade gave his take on how the fight unfolded, admitting his first impression shifted as the rounds went on. What he noticed showed why Crawford was able to take control in a way many didn't expect.
Let's see. I figured that at first I was thinking, it's gonna take, a while for that fight to develop in a later round. And if Terence can take them shots, he'll be able to, pretty much outwork and move and be able to, hit him with some counter shots. And pretty much that's what it was. At first I didn't know if he was be able to take the heavier shots, but then I realized, Canelo, yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not really a big guy when it comes to somebody like a Terence who's has reach, has length, in that aspect, and that could put on the size, and also can box. And he did a great job. When you watched it, he did a great job. He kept with a great strategy, staying outside.
His reflection captured the surprise many shared while watching live. At first, the size and power seemed to favor Canelo, but Crawford's reach and skill flipped the script. Andrade's words highlighted how quickly the tide turned once Bud showed he could handle the pressure. What started as doubt ended as admiration, and in that shift, the story of robbery turned into one of undeniable dominance. Andrade also praised the strategy Crawford brought into the ring. He pointed out the balance of patience, timing, and grit that defined Bud's approach from start to finish.
He kept with a great strategy, staying outside, using his reach, moving when he needed to move, and when those moments where he needed to make them count, he made them count because he was able to, because the southpaw, the combinations when he had the chance to let them things go, he did that. He held his ground. He showed that he can get underneath, clinch, hold, and show that he also has the will and power to, keep his ground. So man, he did a great job fighting Canelo.
His breakdown revealed why Crawford looked untouchable against boxing's biggest star. It wasn't reckless offense. It was smart control mixed with bursts of fire at the perfect time. Andrade saw how Crawford stood his ground, mixed defense with aggression, and forced Canelo out of his comfort zone. It was the kind of performance that left no room for excuses on the scorecards, and it reminded everyone that greatness is built on both skill and will. Andrade also spoke on Canelo's power, questioning whether it was ever as dangerous as people made it out to be. His view added another layer to the conversation.
I mean, if I'm not saying, I don't think Canelo's the hardest hitting puncher out there. My damn self. Like at the end of the day, yeah, everybody can, knock somebody down or, get knockouts, but we haven't seen Canelo really put people out consistently like a Triple G, you know what I'm saying? Or like a Dimitri Beterbiev. Like, it ain't that type of situation. But nah, I wasn't. He probably did. He probably did fight somebody that hits a little harder,
By downplaying Canelo's punching threat, Andrade shifted focus back to Crawford's composure. If the so-called danger wasn't real, then what kept the fight close on the cards? His words hinted at the truth fans feared. It wasn't Canelo's fists, but the judges that posed the biggest risk. And in that light, Crawford's dominance looked even more impressive. What Andrade saw confirmed that the system couldn't save Canelo this time. Spencer Oliver shared his perspective, making it clear that what happened in the ring was no surprise to him. He explained how the fight played out almost exactly the way he and others had predicted.
It was like we had watched the fight before it had happened.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way it went.
In the presence of genius, and you don't even know it.
Absolutely. We actually called it. We said, look, listen, that Terence Crawford would build up an early lead, and when he had to bite down, when he had to do it, that ninth round especially, he stood there and showed that he could trade with him, and he could take the shots, and he could mix it. And the difference between the two was, like we said, Duke, was the combination punching, the ring control from Terence Crawford. They were all the question marks. Could he do that? Could he cope with the power of Canelo Alvarez, who's adapted now and had to adjust in his career? He now throws single shots, and that's why it was the calculated gamble. Well, it wasn't really a gamble because me and Simon called it from the beginning.
Right.
That we go, Mayweather ticks every department. You go, the only thing that people are hedging their bets on is that Canelo's the bigger guy, but he wasn't really anyway.
No.
You can see, because Crawford come down from 185 anyway, you can see the physicality's in there. He was all the size of Canelo.
His words carried the weight of someone who saw Crawford's greatness long before the first bell. Every doubt about power, size, or control was answered in real time, just as he expected. What stood out most was Crawford's ability to silence the biggest question marks with skill and composure. It showed that this wasn't luck or chance. It was mastery on display. And for Oliver, it proved that Canelo's supposed advantages were never enough to change the outcome. Duke McKenzie broke it down with a sharp eye, focusing on how Canelo's style played right into Crawford's hands. He explained why the matchup was always going to favor Bud if he stayed disciplined.
As Edward said long before this fight, I just think styles make fights, and Canelo's style, this style of Canelo, was suited for Crawford. He can't throw combinations anymore. There's no more head movement from Canelo. Yeah. He tries to walk people down and hit you all over the body and all over the head if he can, but he can't put his combination. He can't sustain the combinations. And what really impressed me about Crawford was the fact that it was a question of he didn't want to trade off early with Canelo. He traded late with Canelo because he couldn't take his power early. So in the early rounds, it was just pity-patting and just tapping him, kept spinning him, kept turning him and driving him mad. And then in the later rounds, as Canelo started to fade, from round 7, round 8, as the pace got a little bit slower, then Crawford's confidence, he was confident enough within himself to stand and trade with him. And even when he got on inside, he was hitting him with 3s and 4s, hard shots, constant shots. He just kept spinning him, kept turning him, and Canelo didn't really know where he was. And another great thing about Crawford, stayed southpaw throughout the whole fight, and Canelo admitted after that he couldn't handle a southpaw.
Couldn't work it out
whatsoever.
His analysis showed exactly how Crawford unraveled Canelo round by round. The patience in the early stages set the trap, forcing Canelo into frustration and mistakes. By the time the later rounds arrived, the shift in control was undeniable. What looked like a cautious approach turned into total dominance as Crawford let his combinations flow. For McKenzie, it was proof that style and strategy can expose even the biggest names. Adam Smith admitted he had always favored Crawford in this matchup, but his concern was never about the fight itself. It was about the judges. His reaction showed just how close boxing still comes to controversy.
What he's saying, however, Canelo is a legend. I, like you two, thought Crawford would win the fight, and I thought it would be as comfortable as that. I just worried about the Vegas judges, and they were a little bit tight. I thought it was a dominant performance.
Did you see
Crawford.
the AI scoring, by the way? They scored it a draw.
Unbelievable. I mean, that is just
preposterous.
Yeah, ridiculous. So, was it a great fight? I mean, it was a great occasion. Yeah. It was a magnificent 12 rounds, but as a great fight, no.
Never
was it
got a light,
great performance? Yes. Terence Crawford did exactly what he needed to do. I knew within 30 seconds of the fight that he felt comfortable. It was all about whether he'd get into that rhythm, utilize that southpaw advantage. He has the IQ, the ring generalship, and Canelo is slightly on the slide, the William Skull performance, etc. See what Paulie's saying.
He pointed to the shocking AI scoring as proof of how narratives can be twisted in ways fans can't believe. To him, this wasn't just a victory. It was Crawford taking control of the moment despite every outside factor. The intelligence, the southpaw rhythm, and the composure told the real story. It was a performance so clear that even tight Vegas scorecards couldn't rewrite it, and Smith left no doubt that greatness had just been confirmed under the brightest lights. Smith then put Crawford's win into perspective, framing it not only as a victory, but as a moment that introduced him to the wider world. His words showed how big this night was for Bud's legacy.
See what Paulie's saying, but yeah, don't take anything away from Terence Crawford. This was his coming out party on Netflix, and people don't know Terence Crawford if you walk down the streets. They know a bit about Canelo, and they know obviously the Furies, the Joshuas, but this was his moment, and I always felt
Were you surprised about his outburst in the press conference afterwards? Because
For Smith, this wasn't just about boxing insiders. It was about mainstream recognition. Crawford had been overlooked for too long, living in the shadow of bigger names and louder brands. But on this stage, streamed across millions of screens, he forced the spotlight to turn his way. It felt less like another fight and more like the night Crawford's name became global. And in Smith's eyes, it was the beginning of a new chapter for the sport itself. Billy Nelson, who has seen Crawford up close from the very beginning, gave one of the strongest praises of the night. His words carried the weight of someone who recognized Bud's greatness long before the world did.
I've told people for a long time Crawford is without a shadow of doubt the best fighter I've ever seen live. When he fought Ricky Burns with me, the only grievance I've got with Crawford is I get sacked after the Crawford fight and lose his first fight. Ricky Burns is his first loss for me in 23 fights, so I wasn't too pleased. But Crawford is a fantastic fighter. Mate, both stances, his balance is fantastic. His shot selection, both stances, excellent. Just a class above. He's just a class above. I think he's one of the best. If not, and this might go down well with a lot of people, I think he could be the best ever fighter ever.
Nelson's reflection wasn't just admiration, it was conviction built on experience. He spoke about Crawford's balance, his mastery in both stances, and his ability to control every moment inside the ring. To him, Bud wasn't simply elite, he was operating on a level beyond most fighters in history. It was the kind of testimony that forces fans to rethink where Crawford truly belongs among the legends. And coming from a respected trainer, it hit harder than any punch thrown that night. Even the man who made his mark inside the ring spoke with the calm of someone who already knew the ending. Crawford laid out exactly how the fight would unfold before the first bell even rang.
Of course it felt special, it was a historical moment, historical fight. It's a fight, like I said before, we're gonna do a lot of switching up, and we're gonna do a little bit of everything in there. We're gonna do a little bit of boxing, we're gonna do a little bit of banging, counter punching. It's gonna go a lot of places in that ring, and that's you know, one of the places that it end up in is in the middle of the ring.
His vision wasn't just confidence, it was prophecy. He outlined the switches, the adjustments, and the willingness to meet Canelo anywhere in the ring. It showed a fighter who wasn't hoping to rise to the occasion, but planning to control it from every angle. That mindset turned the pressure of history into fuel for dominance. And when the fight unfolded, it went exactly the way he had promised. Terence Crawford didn't just beat Canelo, he beat the system that many thought would protect him. The judges tried to keep it close, but Crawford's performance was so dominant that even controversy couldn't touch him. But what about you? Do you think the judges really tried to rob Crawford? Was this the night he proved he's the best fighter of this era? And where does this leave Canelo's legacy moving forward? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this, because the story of boxing is only getting more exciting.